I coded an iOS app in a weekend, and I still don't feel like a programmer. It was Sunday after our very first football game, and as you can imagine, we're kind of tired, and we have a deadline to submit our application for this hackathon in just a few hours. And so we started at around noon, and our project was due at 5 p.m. So really, we only had maybe 3 hours optimistically of good coding time for us to get everything finished. So there's me at the computer, and there was my friend right next to me, and he's this crazy talented machine learning engineer. I had a great time working with him. And the second that we submitted our project, I jokingly said to him, like, hey, I'm officially a Swift programmer. And he was like, yeah. But he said it in a way that he was serious. And I was like, you're kidding, right? And he's like, no. Like, that's when I realized that I'm not a very gentle person with myself. This is Imposter Syndrome. And honestly, I didn't know how pervasive this was in my personal life until this very interaction. I have a pretty good idea where it comes from, though, in regards to my programming skills, or lack thereof. I talked about it a little bit in a previous episode. It's this photography app, trying to make life easier for photographers, going from thousands of photos to a select few in just an instant. And I remember feeling really, really good when I was able to program it inside MATLAB. If you've never used MATLAB before, it's probably because you're not an engineering major. And if you're an engineering major, you probably really hate MATLAB. But anyway, for some reason, I decided to endure it and just code it in MATLAB. I knew it wasn't going to be the permanent solution, but I'm glad that it worked in some capacity. And then I immediately got really discouraged because I'm like, all right, I just got to code it in a different language. And I couldn't. I still don't really have the ability yet. And I think that's that disappointment I got from not being able to code the thing that I want in the language that I want really has me really hesitant to call me a programmer to this day, because I guess in my mind, a programmer should make apps that work. A programmer should not only just have the idea, but follow through on it. And I don't have any of those things in regards to the project that I set out to do. It sounds ridiculous now. We entered this hackathon hosted by Stanford University. They gave us a lot of the code to begin with, and our goal was to play around with the code and make something that actually solves a real problem. And we had a team, and we were given all the code, and I think that part of me is downplaying it because I know that they gave me a bunch of code already, and I just did some fiddling around, and I didn't really build anything from scratch per se. It really makes me downplay that achievement that I made a functional iOS app. Of course, I have no problem saying that I made a functional iOS app, but somehow the leap to I'm a Swift developer just seems like I don't belong yet. And moreover, I feel like that there has to be some sort of criteria for me to fulfill in order to call myself a Swift developer. And I can't help but to think that I'm grabbing that criteria from someone else. I'm not making it about what I can achieve, but what someone else can achieve. But what does that other person have to do with me? I'm not even sure what person I'm imagining in my head when I tell you what a real developer is. Had I done this hackathon on my own, I don't think that I would have this perspective on my ability or lack thereof to code, because I think I would have been overwhelmed with coming up with the problem, or at least coming up with a solution for one of the problems that they gave us during the hackathon. Running the code, editing the code, and doing all that, I think I would have been very easily overwhelmed. And the fact that I did have a team, and all I needed to do was, modify some code that was already given to me, I felt a lot more confident. And moreover, I think what Emmanuel said and how he said it afterwards, after we completed the challenge, has really given me more confidence to use Swift in my future projects. I don't believe that there is a cure for imposter syndrome, but I believe that the treatment begins with surrounding yourself with people that are, in some ways, in lots of ways, smarter than you are. And also to make sure that those people believe in you, especially when you really don't think that you're up to the task. I know there's a lot of you out there with projects that you haven't started yet, or you finished them and no one has seen it yet because you're scared. And I understand. It's incredibly difficult to be vulnerable in a world where everybody can see you. One of my favorite pastimes that I can no longer do because of COVID is rock climbing. And my favorite part of my day when I rock climb is when I climb a wall that I know is way too hard for me, and other people that have seen me struggle time and time again cheer for me, and I just send it. So, yeah, just send it. I'll cheer for you.
You might not be a Swift expert, but you're a developer. You've actually created a solution to a problem in Swift that didn't exist, right? Like what we built had never existed until the point that we built it.